Sambo coach. Sambo is Russian judo, which is half judo, half wrestling. Great on leg lock attacks, some really cool stuff, a different spin on things, different attitude. Great teacher, great insider. He's got some really great guys. Some of you, like Dean, will know Riley Bodycomb, among some of these other great guys that train. All right, Sambo Steve. All right.
So you got the kids running around in their literally little purple sweaters with the little Sambo 70 patch on.
Okay.
And then after class, they throw in their gis or their kurkas and just train.
The outfit's called a kurka.
Kurtka means jacket in Russian.
Jacket wrestling.
So now they do the same system for MMA. So they're actually training kids in MMA the same that they did Sambo. So in 10 years, you're going to see even more beasts coming. So
that's the commando. That's not the
yeah. Well, commando and combat Sambo is the same.
Oh, it is.
Commando is like the combatives.
Combatives for like
the hand-to-hand stuff, which is what my coach did. And then the sport version doesn't allow chokes.
They don't allow.
And that the history behind that is really has to do with animosity with Japan and wanting to be different from judo, really. So they allow leg locks, they don't allow chokes. Judo does not allow leg locks, they do allow chokes. But in the end, more Sambo matches are won by armbar than leg lock, submission-wise.
Wow.
So I think we got the reputation as leg lockers because it was just allowed. You know, like in so many other rule sets just didn't allow it. So, I mean, take Fedor, for example, probably, right? The most famous Sambo guy, he's never won a match or a fight by leg lock. He's an armbar guy. So I kind of look at Sambo as an umbrella, just like you would say karate, and then underneath that there's lots of different flavors. My coach was a big leg lock guy, so we got into it a lot, but some schools, they don't. So it's a little bit of a, and something that surprises a lot of people is that in Sambo, heel hooks and toe holds are not allowed in the sport. Only straight.
Achilles.
Yeah, I mean you can do knee crush, hip lock, all the other stuff. You can reap, you can do
Toe holds are illegal too.
They're not allowed in sports Sambo. So that's a brief history of it.
That's why when Fedor was fought Van Lidlen, he grabbed the mat, and I was like, why did he go for it? Because he just Achilles locked him and just dove to his face.
Yeah. It's a habit.
Most people won't tap to an Achilles.
No.
In a real fight.
No, it's true.
What I've noticed.
It's absolutely true. I had a student who at the New York Open who had an Achilles lock. He was down by an advantage, and this was in an IBJJF tournament. Down by an advantage, he had an Achilles lock on the guy for like the last half of the match.
Wow.
The guy refused to tap.
Yeah.
And then bowed out.
Switched to the heel hook.
No. It was like it wasn't allowed in the IBJJF stuff. So, but the guy actually bowed out of his next match. So
yeah,
it is what it is.
You can break the ankle with an Achilles lock, by the way. Most people don't think it.
Oh yeah.
The little tibial bone breaks, and if you have it tight enough, the entire bone will snap.
The problem with most Achilles locks that people that don't train them regularly, people put them way too high. It becomes almost like a calf slicer instead of attacking the little bones. So the way that I teach guys to attack the Achilles, I always, even though in my club we do toe holds and heel hooks, we do all kinds of stuff, but we still always start with the Achilles. And my philosophy behind that is, if I'm going to attack your leg, I want to establish some kind of point of contact that keeps us connected, right? So if I rush to a heel hook and you defend my leg control, if I'm over here, you block my reef, like stop this, and then I'm trying to go for a heel hook, you have two open doors, you can come right out. So for me, I'm always going for at least an Achilles grip to make sure that me and you, we're linked now. Even if I want to finish with a heel hook later, right? So the basic philosophy that I show how to slide to this, and it is a slide, is you want to get your wrist bone right at the very base of his Achilles.
Slide over.
And you're gonna literally
slide
until you can't go any further, right? So a lot of problems people have is they lock it up real tight here. They'll fall for their lock, and then they're too high on the leg. And then they have to readjust, but it's kind of too late at that point, right? You want to think about landing in the submission. By the time you hit the mat, you should have a submission. So the first step of the drilling that I do with my guys is to do a little push-pull, just like throws. I push and pull. Some sliding down your leg. And then with gi, you can lock it in, right? The next part that, with no gi, I'll do like a ball and socket grip or something like this. But with gi, it's easy, you can lock it in. The next part that a lot of people start doing is a hard arch with their body. And a lot of times, if their position isn't really solid in the beginning, when they arch, their hand starts to slide towards their hip, right? And they loosen up their lock. So, what I want you to think about today when you practice this drill is once you get your push-pull, push-pull, slide, lock, when you fall for your reap, you're going to use the mechanics behind the lock is going to be rolling your shoulder and pinching your elbow. So I want you to think of it almost as the opposite of a heel hook, right? So a heel hook, we would be back here. For an Achilles lock, I want my forearm actually on this opposite side of his heel. And here, rotate this way. So by pressing my forearm into his heel, that stabilizes the position of his foot. And then by rolling my shoulder back, I'm putting pressure on his instep, right? Against the fulcrum of my wrist. Another mistake, people go very deep, and there are locks you can do very deep. I prefer going deep on the cross side locks because they're a little more twisty as opposed to shouldery. And we can go over that in a minute. So when I slide back, boom, lock, I'm doing it without the sit back for a minute. I'm gonna pinch my elbow so his heel is pressed to my ribs. Roll my shoulder back into his instep. Boom. The last little part is the position of the wrist. You actually want to rotate it outward just a little bit so that sharpest part is pointing up into him. A lot of people put the flat part of their wrist against there, and that's like a lot less painful. Once you get that slide, you're going to do that slide as you sit back. You don't want to sit back and face him. This is how he sits up on me, right? So then I'm in trouble. I always want to sit to my opposite side, so I'll fall to this hip. So if I'm here, and it's really up to you. Maybe you were threatening a pass. I always say passes open up the leg locks open up the passes. They both feed into each other. So however you control this leg, you want to control this leg. So you'll see the slide that I do is going to be when I sit back. I give a little push. I actually pull him to me because I've gotten as far as I can go. Right? And then I can lock it in now. Here's the rotation of the wrist. Pinch the forearm into the, see? Not a lot of this is necessary. And then when you do it all at once, wrist, forearm, and shoulder. Right?
What do you think the IBJJ out there before necessary?
It's silly. It's silly. I mean, what happened with IBGF, right, is because they don't allow reaping. I truly believe that's why 50-50 became so popular. Because you can go this way, right? That's okay, but that's not okay. So it is what it is. So one more time, and then we can drill it. Okay. So we're here. However you opened his guard, I'll leave it up to you. You all have your own ways of doing it. But let's just assume it's open. I opened it or he opened it. I'm going to slide back. I'll move the side so you can see it. Slide back along the leg until it locks in place. The last thing I didn't mention, which is real easy with gi or with shoes, but every single leg lock defense involves his use of this free leg. Right? Whether you're defending a knee bar, knee crush, foot lock, it doesn't matter. He needs this leg. So all of your foot lock and leg lock attacks should involve a way to control for the movement of this leg. Right? So if I sit back, for example, and I don't control that leg, you can rock up on it. Yeah, well, not that. Come up on your, like a windshield wiper.
Bring your leg under.
Yeah, bring your leg under.
Under your butt and sit up.
Yeah, I'll show you. Here, attack my foot. He sits back. I want to rock up this way, right? Stop the reap. You don't want to try and sit up with both of your feet forward for the same reason we can't stand up from this position. If you're sitting like this, I say stand up. The first thing you got to do is move a leg so you can stand up. So it's the same thing when you attack. When somebody is attacking my foot, this one's getting attacked. This one immediately tucks, so I can try and come up here. So one more time. So the guy knows what he's doing, that's what he's gonna do, and that's why we have to control this. So we're here, boom, I'm holding it. So you can't do that. If I can get to this, that's my go-to right off the bat, if I can. We just number our positions. This is what we call position 3. For the whole series. Position 1 is if I lose this, and I triangle here, this is position 2. I don't put my foot in his knee because he can still bend his leg. Yeah, okay. So I want to be parallel to the calf and get a little more control. Position 2. Let's say he pops that leg off. Position 3, right there. And then position 4, which is the knot that everybody, yeah, exactly. So let's start with just position 1. If you can get 3, that's cool. But I really want you guys to focus on sliding into that locked position. So when I hit the mat, bam, see how he drags along the floor with me? And then you can lock it in. And it should be nice and tight. Little tip, if you are too high on the leg, this butterfly right here serves 2 purposes. The shin behind his knee is a fulcrum, so it helps prevent him from putting the boot on. Straighten your leg. The straightness to defend it. Yeah. Right? It's much harder. If I have this, I can bend that. If my foot's in his butt, like a lot of people leave it back there, I have nothing, I have no fulcrum behind his leg to get this bent, except maybe my groin or my upper leg. So this is better. That's the first purpose. The second purpose is if I'm too high on the leg, that butterfly allows me to shrimp out a little bit and slide again. And come back. Boom. All right, so I'll stop talking, and then let's work this from guard, sliding back to the Achilles. And then what we'll do is a takedown into this after.
Cool. 1, 2, 3.